Well, you're not on yet. There you go.
Silence for Sean.
Okay.
Council members, welcome to this special meeting for today, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. In accordance with New Jersey law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Star Ledger, the Jersey Journal, and the public at large, establishing the time, date and time of the location of this meeting. In addition, the agenda for this meeting was disseminated on May 9th, 2025 at the time of preparation and posted in the city's website. Roll call.
Present.
Present. Here. Here.
Present.
Present. Before we begin, Mr. Clerk, I think we should stand for a moment of silence for our mayor, departed mayor, Mayor Sharp James. Did so much for our people in our city. Thank you.
We on page 4 of the agenda, 7R1AS. Authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award a contract for one-stop career center operation under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act.
Any questions from the council? Hearing none, roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos absent,
Yes.
Scott
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
7R2AS is to rescind a resolution determining the project proposed by CL Enterprises LLC meets or will meet an existing housing need in the South Ward.
Can we get a quick explanation? I understand it's due to a name change, but is that the only reason we're rescinding this?
Good morning. Brandy Daniel, Legislative Coordinator for Economic and Housing
Morning.
Development. Yes, Council President, this is in regards to the resolution of need that the council approved last week for the Sheila Oliver project. This was the original resolution of need that the developer obtained, but due to the name change and the amendment in RDA, we had to redo the resolution of need to show the new name for the entity. So we had to rescind this one, so there weren't two on the books.
Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions from the council? Roll call.
Council,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana, Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
7R8A is a ceremonial street dedication to Sergeant Joseph Anthony Ascona, sponsored by Aniva Ramos, Councilman, and Councilman Quintana.
Second. Second.
Council,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree.
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
Communications, 8AS, is an ordinance granting a 30-year tax abatement to 449 Washington Street Urban Renewal, CO, LLC, for a project to construct a 5-story building with a total of 20 residential rental units, in which 10 will be market rate and 10 will be affordable housing rental units, restricted at tenants at 60% of AMI in the Central Ward. Council as a whole to adopt.
Let me just say, just for the record, this is one of those, one of the projects that we discussed. There were 5 around the city, and this is one of them. Is this the last one? We have one more? All right, so we've discussed this on many occasions, so just let's go, unless there's a question from the council, roll call.
Can we adopt first?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Can we adopt?
Advance and adopt?
Adopt?
I don't see why not.
Excuse me,
Yes.
advancing and adopting this on first reading, the public hearing would still be in June.
That's fine.
So it's still June.
That's okay.
Okay, so we'll
That's okay.
defer it at the next meeting.
That's okay.
Okay.
This item now will be 6FA.
We haven't voted yet. We got voting to advance and adopt.
This item will be now numbered 6FA.
Council,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted today on first reading will be advertised in accordance with the law, and public hearing will be held at a regular meeting on June 4th, at the time of June 4th, as soon thereafter as practical in the council chambers.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, is there anything from the council? Councilman Ramos?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I know we have the street dedication scheduled for Saturday, the 17th, so I would have just asked through your chair and the clerk to ensure that, you know, all the logistics are in place, you know, the sound system works properly. I know we've had some issues in the past, that we have an appropriate number of chairs. And also to see if we could send a note to Public Works to see if they can clean up the area ahead of time. I just want to make sure everything's in place.
Absolutely, Councilman. Anything else from the council? I got just a couple things I just wanted to address real fast. Number one was a previous motion regarding the property on 13 Hecker Street, at 13 Hecker Street. Just finding out what the update is. It was deplorable conditions, abandoned, and there were some issues with fires in there and squatters, and the neighbors are very concerned about it. I made this motion at the March 19th meeting, and I just wanted to get a update or follow up through the clerk's office, please. And I think that's it. So let's get a motion to adjourn.
Council, Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana, Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
We are now in the public portion of the meeting, in which each speaker has 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name for the record. Is there anyone wishing to address the council?
No one appearing.
Council President, council members, we are now in the special conference section portion of the meeting. And we have 2 topics for this morning. The first one will be the status of resources, equipment, and manpower by the Department of Public Works. And we have the Director, Tyreek Roland, this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council President, council members, Director.
Good morning.
Director Roland, DPW. Before I start off, I would like to say, I would like to recognize Ms. Brenda Anderson, who passed away. She gave the city over about 30+ years. She was our recycling coordinator, so send condolences to her family, and our community. Huge loss for us.
Absolutely.
So this morning, I'll take about 7 to 10 minutes to discuss what we need as it pertains to our staffing, where we are, where we want to be, and how we get there. Before I dive into it, just to talk about how we got there, in 2019, I was serving as a systems analyst in DPW under Director Khalif Thomas, and that was, you know, a good time for us. I want to talk about like how COVID impacted us. We had a lot of employees, we had equipment, new trucks coming in, street sweepers. We didn't have recycling in-house. I think we had just got the Southward contract to collect the refuse. And then in 2020 during COVID, that's when we began to become impacted. At the current time, prior to that, we had about 150 additional employees through our workforce program and reentry who were able to work with us. We also had a reentry program who was coming through workforce as well. And when COVID happened, we lost it, right? And we just never ever recovered for it or from it. And we'll begin to talk about that, what it looks like during this presentation. So first, our overview. The Department of Public Works is dedicated to maintaining and enhancing the city of Newark through high-quality operational and maintenance efforts. Our beautification initiatives foster neighborhood pride and ownership by ensuring the upkeep of the city entryways, vacant lots, vacant buildings, and main thoroughfares in a cost-effective manner. Our primary goal is to promote a healthy environment, improve public health, economic development, and increase the quality of life for all Newark residents. Our pillars are that is the same as the mayor: make Newark safer, make Newark equitable, make it educated, empowered, and collaborative. Where we are as it pertains to our population. So here you'll get to see, some of the things that we see every day. Obviously, we all know that since 2018, we had about a 30,000 to 40,000 increase in population. Today, we have 304,000 plus residents. We have 113 households that we're responsible for collecting their trash. South Ward households, 15,000 plus. West Ward households, 15,000 plus. Central Ward households, 6,000 plus. North Ward households, 12,000 plus. East Ward, 11,000 plus. We're responsible for about 60,000 households. These numbers may have increased. This is data from 2021. The private lots that we're responsible for, 3,000 plus. Our city-owned lots, 2,000, and between our middle aisles and recreations and parks, that's 67 properties that we are responsible for. So where we are currently in our daily operations, you'll see some pictures here so you can get a visual of these are like bulk days. So the bottom left picture is on Clinton Avenue. I think last month we had a bulk day, and this is what one household put out. We all know that bulk is supposed to be 10 items. Here's another property to where they stopped their contract, and we're working with law department to enforce that, but we're now responsible for picking it up. I believe it's on 16th Avenue in Littleton. Some data for us, right? The average sanitation worker walks 6 miles per day and is collecting 14 tons per ton. There's 2,000 pounds per ton. So we're looking at about 28,000 pounds, right, a day that we're lifting. Illegal dumping, since last year, I just read a KPI to the administration, has increased by 111%. And Newark is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. As it pertains to equipment, we currently have 47 32-yarders. The average age of our fleet is 13 years old. We have 5 smaller refuse trucks that help us get through the smaller areas, helps us to become more effective. Those are roughly new. We have 2 front loaders. We're working with the administration and through our capital improvement plan, because we have moved through many of our properties that have 10 units or more to front loader dumpsters. We have 2. We need about 2 more, and I'll talk about that later on. Staffing, I broke it down so we can actually see where we have it. So for refuse, that is for just regular household garbage, we currently have 37 CDL drivers, 77 laborers. This does include folks who possibly are on workers' comp. And recycling, we have 23 CDL drivers, 41 laborers, also including folks who are on workers' comp. Our neighborhood services, that is our team who is responsible for the cleanness and beautification of the city throughout all city properties, parks and grounds. So we have 7 equipment operators, 52 laborers, and 4 CDL. Mechanics, we have 13. One of the things about mechanics, and you'll see later on, is that we are working with the administration and we have some vacancies to fill those spots. So our mechanics spend about 75% of their time on police and fire vehicles, right? Which kind of forces us to have to outsource some of those things. So 4 mechanics would be extremely helpful for us. Street sweeping, we have 10 drivers, 7 CDL drivers, and 3 are non-CDL. They drive the smaller Ravos. In our trees, we have 1 CDL driver and 5 laborers. So where we want to be as it pertains to equipment and staffing. We would like to add 6 CDL drivers and 15 laborers to our refuse collection. That will give us a total of 43 CDL drivers and 92 laborers. We believe that this will, if we ever have a call out, folks are on vacation, this will allow us to, be more effective in the community. Recycling, we're asking for 7 CDL drivers, 15 laborers. This will give us 30 CDL drivers and 56 laborers. When we first brought recycling in-house, April 1st in 2023, just assessing what Basso, we modeled what Basso had. I believe that they had like 15 trucks and 30 laborers. Obviously, the city has grown since then, a lot of development. We have reassessed that and realized now that we would need about 30 drivers and 56 laborers to combat some of the same issues that I talked about in refuse. Our neighborhood services, we have one equipment we're asking for one equipment operator, or we need one equipment operator, 50 laborers. These laborers, because this department is kind of specialized, we really wouldn't have to have them year round, maybe just seasonal from March into September to be able to help us, during the warmer of months. We have to extend our services throughout the city. So that'd be 50 laborers, 2 CDL drivers, and that will put us at a total for this division, 8 equipment operators, 102 laborers, 6 CDL drivers. I spoke about adding 4 mechanics that will give us a total of 17. Street sweeping, we're asking for 8 additional CDL drivers. We currently have 9 brooms through our capital improvement plan. We have 8, but we want to increase that number to 10. When we first brought street sweeping in-house, we knew that we needed about 13. We currently have some machines down just due to the RAVOs. We just want to be more effective. Our tree department, 2 CDL drivers, 1 tree climber, 3 laborers. That will bring us to a total of having 3 CDL drivers in that division, 1 tree climber, and 7 laborers. So here's how we get there. Through our capital improvement plan that we're working with Director Guzman, who's been extremely helpful. Director Dean put this together to be able to allow us to get more equipment. We're trying to expedite that. Hopefully we can see it by the end of the year. But we want to collaborate, more with our partners in the city. Say like with the state, what they're doing, who are doing similar work. We're working with People's Assembly to reach out citywide to all the organization and partners who are doing this work to kind of extend our resources and work together. Just realizing going to a lot of community meetings, meeting a lot of organizations, I think that we are unintentionally working in silos. So we want to have that meeting next month to bridge that gap. And then innovation, we partner with NJIT and Project Elevate to build a resident app friendly to be able to, many of the calls that we receive from you all, right? To be able to combat that, a resident can take a picture, the app will schedule it, streamline it, notify them when it's picked up, it will notify us, it will notify code enforcement, and Project Elevate is also assisting us with GPSing our routing systems. That way, if I'm a new driver, and I have to fill in, or I'm working on a Saturday, I have to fill in somewhere, I can just put that app in or put the GPS in the address, it'll take me rather than having a supervisor drive me around throughout the route and not knowing. A little demo of what this app would look like for residents. Can we click that? That concludes the presentation. If I missed anything, ask questions.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Director. First, before I go around the questions, just, can you send this presentation to us so that, to the council members?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Questions?
I have a,
Councilman Gonzalez.
it's more, let's say, a comment than a question. Let's say, I noticed that the recycling is being picked up almost at night
Yes.
in some areas. Why is that? And has the community been informed of that change? Because I didn't know that that was happening.
Yes, so the community had been informed. We sent out flyers, we had community meetings. We're finding more effective ways to communicate that. We're going to do another tour. But what happened was, I know last fall when I first came on board, we had a situation to where we were experiencing colder weather. lot of winds, we began to change it to 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. the day of. Then we ran into a hiccup because what we realized was that although we were picking it up in a timely manner, those recyclable materials were laying out much longer. And what I mean by that is that if you were still following the ordinance and you placed, if your trash or your recyclable is Tuesday and you placed it out Tuesday before you went to work, we weren't collecting until 6 p.m. the day of. That means if your street was the last street, we would probably pick it up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And if whether it was tied up or not, that left room for materials to blow and spill, right? And we just wanted to get ahead of that. So we had to pivot immediately and kind of build it in flight at the same time and communicate. And we began to go back to the day before, collecting materials 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. the day before. To 2 a.m., I'm sorry, the day before. I can send you the flyers. We can do community meetings. We can talk about any other things that you would like to address, but we are moving back from 6 p.m., or we have moved back rather, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. the day before. What I mean by that, if your material day, if your collection day is on Monday in Zone A, we're asking, you should place your items out between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. the day before, that Sunday night. And if it's Tuesday and Friday, you should take your materials out Monday night between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Monday night, and Thursday between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m.
So when is that taking effect?
So it took effect. On March 17th, right? But here, so to answer your question a little bit more on why you're seeing it is because we didn't do our best job in communicating. Residents were accustomed to the schedule that we had to market and say that we're going to be collecting at nighttime. So now we're out there Sunday night, but for the residents who we failed to communicate to, and that's my fault, who still are operating at the 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. schedule the day of, we have to do double days. So if you're in Zone B on Tuesday and Friday, I know I talk a lot with Councilman Ramos, we're working there on Saturdays and Sundays to get the remaining, and Councilman Dupree to get the Westward bottles and cans. But I believe that in the next couple weeks, as we continue to communicate, I'm doing a Facebook Live, with the mayor on Wednesday. We'll continue doing community meetings and blast mailings to be able to.
Let's say in my case that you picked up Tuesday mornings, let's say, and Friday morning. So I have to put it out on Monday evening and Thursday evening.
Yes. So the ordinance says that residents should place their items out between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. the day before.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Councilman,
Yeah.
Councilman first, I'm sorry, and then Councilman Kelly.
Me or Councilman Kelly? Oh, okay, thank you.
Councilman Kelly.
Yeah, I just wanted to, first, thank you for the presentation, Director Roland. I really appreciate it. Couple of things that I want to line up. I'm gonna walk through it so that I can, move forward. First, I just definitely have to acknowledge that we're having some tough times in the city right now in terms of cleaning and making sure clean. During the presentation, you never mentioned the amount of CSS workers. How many CSS workers do we have?
I don't have that number right here in my notes, but I can definitely get it to you.
Yeah, can you forward us the number of
Yes.
CSS workers
Yes.
that are working in sanitation? Yes. Then in terms of compensation, I know that, we had some instances where there were some raises through 617. I'm not sure what compensation plays a role in that. But also when people are talking about compensation, there has to be also some transference of professionalism, right? In terms of training and development. So is there a list of individuals who have gone through any additional?
Prior to me coming on board, and even now, many of our assistant directors, superintendents, and managers are taking certification programs. At Rutgers, we had a leadership training with Angela Minifield, where we all did the DISC assessment. We'll have another social and emotional well-being training on leadership and professionalism in the upcoming weeks. I actually have a Zoom, I believe, on Wednesday with the organization from Rutgers to be able to assist us.
All right, and if you can forward that information. Yes. Of all who have been involved in training and professional development, and then also taking a look at title redundancy, the amount of titles, the redundancy in the titles, the roles and responsibilities that these individuals may have. And then do we have a risk management system in place at DPW to lower the amount of accidents, incidents that may be occurring, ensuring that the workers down there are dressed in the proper apparel that they're supposed to have, be it vests, boots, rainy days, raincoats, all of these things that are probably down there in the building or shed, and making sure that the brooms and dustpans are on back of the buses. Because I bring that up because when we talk about philosophy versus practice, the presentation of what you showed us philosophically is an awesome idea. It's a great idea, but the practice right now is failing us all over the city, probably from every ward in the city. We're having major issues with pickup, delivery, going back, the recurrence of picking up. How much would you say that we spend for tonnage per month?
I can get that to you. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can get it to you.
And so if we can break down how much we are spending in tonnage as it relates to type 13 trash, as it relates to bulk pickup, if we can put a number to that and identify that number so that the taxpayers know what it is that they're paying every time we have to pick up illegal dumping, every time we have to come out and pick something up, it's important that they understand what that cost variable is, especially as it relates to garbage collection. Also, how are we working to combat these side job situations in terms of disciplinary issues where individuals are working on routes, they break off from their routes, they go pick up things that they should not be picking up, can't get back to their route, head to waste management, and by the time they get back, there are several calls that are coming in about missed pickups. And so if you can provide us some information about the walkthrough of progressive discipline.
Yes.
How is that occurring? What is happening down there? And then one of my contentions, and we'll continue to talk about it as I even shared with the business administrator, DPW must be a 24-hour organization. It cannot live Monday through Friday from 6 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. There were major accidents that are occurring. There's no one cleaning up, no street sweepers out there, issues and things that may be occurring through the evening. And so I understand at one point we had this breakdown in terms of staffing for recycling pickup in the evenings, garbage in the morning. But what does that look like in totality from a Monday through Sunday? Comparatives that you're putting in and giving to us or providing to us, will that help to complete this kind of operation?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first one. We are currently working with the law department. We have a whole workers' comp report that we're building out, met with the business administrator. And one of our plans is to be able to ensure, so we're gonna look at all of our staffing, look at all the necessary equipment, whether that's glasses, boots, vests, right? We're gonna draft up a letter. Each employee will have to sign it. Moving forward, they'll get their uniforms, they'll get their glasses, they'll get their boots, they'll get their vests, any and everything that they need, they will get. So that way, if a worker doesn't have glasses on and something flies off the back of the truck and hits him or her, and they don't have the proper wear, that we can at least defend that, right? When it comes to workers' comp. I forgot everything in the middle, but I'll answer the last question as it pertains to staffing. Absolutely, yes. We currently, the administration had approved us to hire 55 new hires that consisted of 20 laborers and 35 drivers. They're currently in the last phase going through Identigo to get their fingerprints. This will allow us to have the schedule that you talked about, Councilman. We can have a Saturday to Wednesday team, a Sunday to Thursday, and also a Monday to Friday. What I didn't mention is that, right, so to be able to get an additional 75 CDL drivers or 75 or 26, drivers, that will bring us up to 101 drivers, right? To get an additional 84 laborers, that will give us up to 259 laborers. That is sufficient staffing based upon the research that we've done in a city like ours, right? For example, I can give you, we'll clean the middle aisles, right? We'll go on Goldsmith, we'll go to Hansberry, we'll go to those areas and we'll come through. Sometimes it's Saturday on over leave, folks are placing those items right back out there, right? And I do just want to be mindful is that the folks who are on my team, right? These are the same folks who are working every single day, rain, sleet, hail, snow, and more staffing will allow us to be more flexible, reduce workers' comp cases, I believe, and most importantly, serve the community better.
Yeah. So, and to that point, I'm glad you said that, because to that point, one of the things that we're talking about is what we need from the current workers and staff now. And so what you presented to us is ultimately where it is that you want to see the department going. This is where we are. This is where we want to be. But then ultimately, when we look at intensively where we are now, we have an issue with individuals coming to work, rather whatever that issue is, if they believe it's pay, not being paid on time, overtime issues, whatever that is, we still have a responsibility to be able to come to work, to do the job at hand, right? Because no one ran after them to get the job. They ran here to get the job. And so they should be responsible for doing the job, right? That's very important because it helps to stop the narrative, not just around this city, but around this state, that Newark is a dirty place, especially when you live here and you ride down your own block and as a DPW worker, and you don't have a vested interest in making sure your own block is clean. That's very intentional. Then completing the task, right? So task day means when all of the trash in the entire city is picked up. Doesn't mean your district, your specific area. If I come in at 5, if I come in at 6, if I bust this route out by 7 o'clock, then I'm on my way home. That the completion of task is when someone gives the okay that every piece of trash from a household has been picked up in the city. We have to work to make sure that individuals are completing their task day. We have to work on picking up the garbage and cleaning behind themselves. There's too much waste and foliage that is on the ground, outside, even coming here, a lot of waste down Pennsylvania Avenue, all on the ground, the throwing of the cans. We have to be better in our service. It's not a sprint. This is a marathon. We have to take our time to execute the performance that's happening, right? And so those are the things that we can do right now. Garbage that's sitting up against somebody's wall or fence and we're riding by because it's not on the curb. We have to take that garbage and make sure we're dumping it, because the more you leave it, the more it piles up. You get the call, somebody has to come back and pick it up. That person that's coming back to pick it up could have been assigned to go somewhere else or complete some other duty. Then the utilization of the equipment that we do have, right? Proper utilization. Street sweepers, right, should not be halfway out in the street. It should be hugged up on the curb and sidewalk. And so you get constant calls back from people saying that the street sweeper obviously did not come or they didn't do a good job, because if you follow behind them, which I've done many occasions, the vehicle is halfway out in the street instead of hugged up on the sidewalk. With the apparatuses that we do have, it allows for that type of cleaning to make sure they clean it over there, as well as the catch basins, right? We have to stop putting garbage and trash on the islands. We have to clean the islands. We have to cut them and mow them. They are atrocious right now. We have to do those things, which we can do. And then ultimately, as I mentioned, a lot of times we have to have community walks to discuss pickup and put out strategies. It's the only way that we can reach out to people. I don't mind doing that with you. I'm quite sure we grab a few people, pick some neighborhoods, go knock on some doors and talk to them about this is the proper way to put the garbage out. This is the way that when we come, this is how we need to pick it up. All of those things are things that we can do now.
Yes.
Right? As we begin to look at how we shape and design a DPW department as we move to the future with the growth of the city as it continues to move, as well as the amount of individuals that are coming into our city. We have to work on all of those things, but there are surely some do now things that we can have.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that so it has to be collaborative, right? While we're educating our laborers and drivers about the importance of clean communities, our community members need to be vested stakeholders in that. The question I would ask as a garbage man is, how many times can I go behind the gate or go to the property to constantly continue to be able to do those things? So we want to be able to work together and understand, that we just can't do it alone. Residents are responsible from cleaning 18 inches to the curb. There are many times to where I know it, I'm out there in the field to where I see it, to where a resident may call when the trash is overflowing, but it's been 4 weeks. We get the heat for it, right? So we want to be able to communicate. We want to be able to work together while we're changing. We want our residents' belief system and ideology to change as well as about that. Because when we're cleaning up Clinton Avenue and as soon as we leave, the person is throwing something on the ground, right? We want to be able to make sure that everyone believes that and buys into it. It's not just a DPW thing. It's a Newark, resident thing, all of us together. That's for me, and I believe for us too.
Anything else?
I'm done.
All right, thank you. Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Council President. How you doing, Director?
Good morning, brother.
I want to say thank you for your presentation as well. I also want to thank you. I actually witnessed you, I believe, in your personal car with 3 other members of DPW. And when I stopped you, I asked you, where were you going? And you said, I'm riding around the West Ward to notice the trends of garbage being put out. I've never had a director say that or do that. Maybe they have. I just only known you to do it. But I say that to say, while you're riding around, what did you notice? Like, do you notice any hot zones? When it comes to DPW, do you have any hot zones for dumping in the West Ward and throughout the city? I know that public safety has hot zones for, different crime trends. Since I seen you riding around, it just, it came into my mind to ask you, do you notice any hot zones? Do you have data for hot zones for dumping? And because it was a serious problem in certain areas in the West, and I'm sure throughout the entire city.
Yes, so we actually have hot zones. I can share them immediately after. But to your point, one of our hot zones that we work together is Boiling and Abinger. All right, Hassan McBride is here, and we constantly go there every week, right? Every Friday, every Thursday to abate that same area where we know what's going on. So we're trying to work and figure out funding for cameras, just more innovative ways to be effective. What we are doing, I got the hot spots from MPD, Director Miranda, also the hot spots of homelessness to be able to see what correlation all of them play together, right? So we're talking about crime, homelessness, and litter, and then also tie that into like educational levels and socioeconomic status, and to be able to see, what each community or each neighborhood needs based upon the data that we're receiving. But we got to do all that and still pick up the garbage, still pick up the recycling, and still work together to be able to put those plans together. So I thank you, and we look forward to continue working with you.
It's great to hear that you talk about the cameras, because when you think about the hot zones, for me, the garbage doesn't just cause rodents. Anytime there's filth or garbage, it causes some uncleanliness, even in public safety, right? It attracts some unclean, people there as well. So the cameras, that was my next question too. Is there, when we ask for equipment, or when we ask the council to vote on getting DPW equipment, is cameras included in that? Is that a high priority? I know certain trucks and certain machineries are, but in order to halt or capture these people who are illegally dumping, is cameras high up on that equipment list, or is it on the equipment list at all?
Yes, so the same folks who are developing the app, we're currently in conversations like, do we use drones? Do we use cameras? Do we, connect with MPD system? We're trying to figure out the most effective way, not to just do it to be doing it and spend money. Then you got to come back and pivot again, right? Can they be mobilized? We're trying to figure out more effective ways, and that is in the plan. And I can also send that to you as well.
Please send it to entire council, please. Yes. And another question, I know we had a fire, I believe on Norwood, with a street sweeper, a street cleaner during the dry season. I think we had 2 fires, actually. Where are we with getting that equipment repaired or getting new equipment for street sweepers? Because I know I got a lot of calls in the West when the weather dropped below 32. The residents don't understand that it's a water vehicle, right? So when it drops below 32, it freezes, it can't do the proper job. So do we have the equipment replaced, repaired, or do we have it back in the fleet?
So the first vehicle was a total loss. The second one we were able to save. However, what we are doing is working with to see if our insurance claim will cover it. Maybe we can recoup some money. But again, in our capital improvement plan, I think we have 4 street sweepers coming in, maybe the 3rd or 4th quarter. I can also give you an update as well, but we would like to increase that number.
Thank you very much. And one of the last questions, can you describe, I guess for the residents here, what other responsibilities other than just garbage and street sweeping that DPW is responsible for? Because I know when I first got in office, I would call you guys to cut down a tree and the tree would get cut down. That's no longer. So can you describe what responsibilities other than just garbage and recycling that DPW covers?
So we're responsible for snow, salting, plowing. We're also responsible for every city the upkeep and maintenance of every city building. We are responsible for all the parks and recreation centers, even for the private properties, right? We're not fully responsible, but if someone calls in, we have to notify, code enforcement will notify that property. If the property doesn't do anything about it, then it's now on us to maintain and clean, whether that's demolishing, abating, detailing, going board ups, right, when fires come. Our job is to make sure that the city is actually working, functioning. We're responsible for all of the vehicles, tons of things.
And before I let you go, speaking of being responsible for the city buildings, that includes the fire departments as
Yes.
well, right?
Yes.
So with that being said, I know we spoke about the Palm Street Fire
Yes.
Department that needed some issues resolved. And I do believe that you guys went up there. Has those issues been resolved or where we at with the Palm Street Fire Department?
So they're in the process of being resolved. We had a second inspector come out and investigate some of the things that we talked about. The piece with the flooring, I can get back to you and give you information of that this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to state for the record that I do appreciate the responsiveness of Director Roland. You know, I've worked with a lot of DPW directors in my tenure here, and I have to tell you, it's really easy for people to sit up here and give you all kinds of suggestions on how to run your department. But when you're dealing with failing equipment, additional responsibilities every year with things that used to be contracted out to private vendors, 25% of your staff either on a leave of absence or calling out sick on any given day, you know, it changes anyone's ability to effectively get things done. But even with those challenges, I have to say that for the record, you know, you do go above and beyond to respond. Most residents will interact with Public Works more than any other department, and they judge the effectiveness of municipalities based on our ability to get what you are responsible for done. And you know, I know it's a tough task. Anytime we've had a community meeting, you know, you've been there with your team. And, you know, I'm glad you had an opportunity today to really talk about what you need, because over the years, we've been talked to about things that the city can do that private vendors used to do, from recycling, from pickups in certain wards, street sweeping. And the city has made investments in sweepers and other things. And we know there's certain days where some of those sweepers are offline. There are questions about whether the city bought the right equipment to do the job that it's responsible for. And we need to have some honest dialogue about how we can effectively get things done and what you need to get things done. You could only do so much with the equipment you have in place right now. You could only do so much with the manpower that you have under your supervision. And it's important for us to hear what you need in order to effectively do what you're responsible to do. And you know, from my standpoint, you have my support. I think our colleagues here are in agreement. And you know, I always respect honest dialogue, and that's something that I feel I get from you. And you know, we're here to support you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Councilman. Councilwoman Scott Roundtree.
Thank you, Council President. Director Rowland, I agree with all my colleagues regarding your responsiveness. We've had some conversations as well. You're responding to those circumstances that were sent to your department. I just want to thank you for. I heard about the leadership training. I have two things. Heard about the leadership training. Those are for your leaders
Yes.
and your managers.
Yes.
Is there anything in place for actually your laborers?
Yes. So that's going to be the second phase. What I wanted to do and what we wanted to do was, you know, make sure that the folks who were in position to lead had the skills and tools and the social and emotional well-being to be able to do so, right? Because in order to lead, you must first be able to follow. So once we are able to get, you know, our leaders on board with the vision, and I think that they know, right? Obviously, you know, it's a tough department, right? But just getting them skilled up, and then we can focus on the laborers. But we're kind of doing both at the same time. It's just, you know, it's hard to do a training during the week when we're responsible for so many things.
Absolutely.
So we want to focus with the employees in the next couple of months on the 3rd and 4th Wednesdays, after they collect all of the yard and leave debris, to be able to do, luncheon, workshop training. But first, we want to talk about some of the things that they need. A lot of times we make decisions for folks, right, without having a conversation. So what do they need to be supported in? And then that's when we'll, find out which way we go, and we'll notify the administration and council as well.
Thank you. The reason I say that is because I remember in one of your community meetings, you were speaking of the mindset
Yes.
of some of the individuals that are getting opportunities to have jobs. And some of them with the customer service piece is very, very
Yes.
important. It's kind of hard because they're doing a job that some of us would never do, haven't done. And so we have to commend those who decide to go and pick up our debris and pick up those things. I just wanted to make sure that they also are receiving some type of concern and
Yes,
care
definitely.
for how they respond. The second thing I want to say is, I'm glad there's a lot of people that are very thankful that you went back to the other schedule. Is that what I think we
Yes.
talked
Yes.
about?
Yes.
Because in their minds, you know how hard it is for people to change. Change is good, though.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. But with a city this large, to just all of a sudden try to switch and try to reach everybody to let them know this is what we're doing now. So I've got a lot of phone calls pertaining to, I wish they were still doing it the same way. Well, we don't want to always do certain things the
Yeah.
same way, but that trash,
Yeah.
debris, these elders that put their garbage out and scared that they're going to get cited. I want to thank you for doing that part. And that's pretty much it. We do want to stop hearing individuals talk about our city being dirty. That is one thing. And there's a lot. It's a lot to be done. So my prayer is that these 55 folks
Yeah.
will come on and you get that done as soon as possible because you need them.
Thank you.
And what Councilman Council said regarding the 24-hour piece, I don't know how that works. That's not, the scheduling's not my area, but I really pray that we can catch up so that our city can be what it is meant to be, and that is clean for sure. Thank you so much for everything that you
Thank
do in your service. And thanks to those workers that work with you, those that go out on those trucks, that have to jump up and down and get cussed out themselves about certain things. But make sure they put the garbage cans back on the
Yes.
sidewalks at least.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're working on that. We're working on that. We got you.
Thank you. Councilman Quintana.
Director, thank you so much. Saturday, Councilman Kelly alluded to you being out there visible. You were out there visible, but your pickup truck was loaded with stuff, and you had gone to pick up some stuff
Wow.
at different sites. To me, that, we have a lot of employees with city government that drive luxury cars and whatever. I never seen their pickups with anything, but other stuff or riding around. But I've seen you, and it was very impressive
Yes.
to see someone picking stuff and putting it in their pickup and disposing it where you were going to dispose it. And that's a credit to you. And thank you. Every time we have called you, my office, you have always responded. In terms of the street cleaning equipment, we have bought the wrong equipment in the city. We got 10 street cleaners that are
Yes.
sitting there
Yeah.
from the 90s. That because the company went out of business that was made in Holland. So you can't, it's not, when we buy equipment that's foreign equipment, they go out of business, then we don't have the parts. So they wind up being in a showcase at the down on Wilson Avenue. And that has been an issue. The mechanics with hydro, because these are hydro equipment,
Mhm.
that's another task. So there needs to be that kind of movement. Again, whatever equipment you're going to get within the next couple months, we need to know
Yeah.
that there's going to be enough parts for that equipment. Because in the past, the street sweepers we had, they were from Harlem, and the company went out of business, so you couldn't get on any, so they would sit there. On the other note, in the early 80s, there was a 13A. 13As were issued. When people kept their garbage cans in front of the house, they were issued a 13A. Today, if you go around, Councilman Ramos and I were at a procession, and people just putting their garbage cans right in front of the business, in front of the house, and not putting it in the rear. There's an ordinance that says you must put in rear the garbage on the side or on the rear. And it makes the city look awful when people just continue. And then what they do is they see that garbage can in front of somebody's house. And what they'll do is they'll take that recycling, the soda bottle or can and throw it right there. And that becomes a problem to us. We can be poor. And it was, Mary James used to say, well, we can be poor, we can be clean.
Yeah.
And it's reality. How are we going to allow people to decide that they're going to put their garbage cans in front of their house and not cite them? Let's cite them with a 13A. We can do that. People, back in the day, we would encourage people, please clean up until the curb and pick up in front of your house. Listen, it's our city. That takes some pride. And again, I just want to say whatever I could do to help, because I've seen and I witnessed what you have done. Even with the snow and whatever your plan was in terms of what you have come, you have done a great job.
Thank you.
I just want to say to you, whatever we can do to help you, I'm here. And I know my council colleagues too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Councilman Ramos, did you have something else?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a follow-up. I didn't mean to, I don't want to monopolize time, but we spoke a little bit about like illegal dumping. I think all of us know what our hotspots are in the ward. You know, for me, is that area off of Chester Avenue on Riverside. It's North 3rd Street above Branch Brook Park. It's Harvey Street. Years ago, we authorized the administration through the capital budget to buy cameras. So I don't understand how these locations do not have permanent cameras set up, because this gentleman and his team, they have to spend God knows how much time each week and resources cleaning up the same areas in every ward. And then the second thing I'll point to is that when Director Ambrose was at public safety years ago, we had some pretty high profile arrests. I don't know if it was a task force that we had around illegal dumping, but we were publicly shaming people who were dumping construction material and things like that. And hopefully they went through the court process and actually either got some heavy fines or jail time, because they come in from out. I see them on Riverside. They come in from off of 21, they make the U-turn, they open up the trunk, and they're dumping everything from construction material to furniture. And then your folks are there every weekend cleaning up the same areas. And there has to be some consequences for that kind of behavior. So I would urge through your chair and the clerk that the administration, again, resources, tools, you know, we need cameras in those sites where every week people are dumping illegally. And then the second thing I would ask through your chair is that we reinstitute whatever we had in place previously, whether it was a task force, and that we start publicizing every time we catch somebody dumping, and that they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yes, I do want to add, thank you, Councilman. I do want to add that the administration is fully in full support of the cameras. We're in conversations right now. Had a conversation with the mayor last week about bringing back our legal dumping task force. This time we want to hit, right? And what I mean by that, I think that when we, for example, when it came to street sweepers, I believe, because I was there at the time, based upon the data that we had, we went with the RAVOs, right? The cost, it was effective. And sometimes we don't know what's a problem until it's a problem. We really want to dive down into the data, talk about the hot spots. And when we make decisions to where we'll see the change, right? Not just put a Band-Aid on a broken bone. The mayor and administration is in full support of that. By the summertime, you'll be getting to see some of those things visually that we're talking about: cameras, illegal dumping task force, and 24-hour service.
Thank you. Councilman Silva.
Good morning, Director. Just for the record, I'm the one who called for this meeting. Can't blame anybody else. It's me. We butt heads sometimes, right? But one thing we can agree on is we love this city and we want it to be clean. Why I brought you up here and I requested DPW was, obviously you've answered a lot of the questions, was to make sure that you guys have the resources that you need. Because at the end of the day, there's not anybody in this room that would want to take on a lot of those jobs that you guys do. Okay? The hard work that you guys put in. And I'll give you an example. And I think morale might be a problem. Yesterday, down my street, one driver, one guy in the back taking care of both sides of the streets. One man to take care of blocks and blocks. And I don't even know how many blocks he had done before he arrived on my street. But one person to try to pick up so much garbage, you're gonna burn that person out. And I know you gave numbers of how much personnel you need, and I hope with the help of the business administrator, we can get to that number, because I think these guys working hard are burning themselves out. And the morale then becomes an issue, right? When they have to do a huge amount of work. The garbage that people put out, and this is just, again, just my ward, the garbage that people put out in the East Ward is insane. Regular household garbage, recycling. Amazon's gone through the roof now in the East Ward. The amount of boxes that are out there, you think people will be collecting boxes for 6 months, but this is weekly garbage. And to have one individual at times in the back and pick all that up, I don't think it benefits anybody. I think we need to get these men and women help. I know you're working hard to get to that goal, but morale might be a problem. And I'm gonna say something else before you respond. Accountability on your supervisors. So 2 weeks ago, I sent you Walnut Street specifically. I have the video on my phone. Your supervisor went back and told you that everything was picked up. Fortunate today, there's a lot of cameras out. People have cameras. And it showed clearly that the garbage was there Sunday night put out. Monday, it was still there, the recycling. Tuesday, it was still there. And Wednesday, it was finally picked up. But if your supervisors aren't held accountable, and they're going back and telling you that the garbage was picked up when clearly it wasn't, we need to start holding our supervisors accountable, because they're responding to you, and then you're giving me the answer, and the homeowner's giving me video. So there's a disconnect somewhere there. And I think we need to work together, all of us, including myself in the East Ward with you and my other council colleagues with you, to make sure that we're all on the same page. Because frustration starts to set in, right? To these, I get all the messages, I pay $12,000 in property tax, I can't even get my garbage picked up, and that's okay. But we need to try and pick up garbage. If you can't do it in one night, but try to pick it up in a reasonable time frame, not 3-4 days later because it's sitting out there. We need to try to, if not pick it up on that day, because we've already gone over that the East Ward has the most garbage, but at least in a reasonable time frame, not 3-4 days later where cardboard boxes are now all over the street, where it's just, the perception is just a bad one. It really does look bad. And so I've even worked with you. I have one of my aides specifically working to go out and give you the streets that haven't been abated to make it easier for you guys. And so I'm hoping that from here on, that we start working towards just picking up the morale, working closer together, doing what it takes to make sure that, garbage gets picked up. I always say, outside of public safety, you're the most important department. Outside of police and fire, DPW's it. And you're one of those key departments to the success of this city.
Thank you. So I do want a few things. Thanks to the mayor and administration, who has been in full support of, knowing the resources that we need. We're in constant meetings. I have bi-weekly meetings with the BA every 2 weeks, and we're talking about our plan, and we have finally gotten that together. For the example, and this is why the app is so important, right? To be able to bridge the gap. I'm not sure if this is the same example, but we had a situation to where we got a call in the East Ward, not sure what street it was, about, that we missed it. And I sent the team out there and I asked the team to, just open the bag to see what it was. And unfortunately, it was clothes inside a garbage can, right? Which was supposed to be bulk. That's just one example, not to point the finger or blame, but, what would it look like if we begin to work together? Our supervisors are writing, the morale is built. And these are the things that we plan to do and will do, but, just bridging that gap and disconnect. And thank you for pushing us on Saturdays, on Sundays, on Fridays, right? Even when we struggle and don't want to be pushed. I appreciate everything that you do and speaking up for us too.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Director. I do have a couple quick questions just to ask or comments. First of all, I agree with my colleagues up here. You have a thankless job, I will say. Although we do thank you and appreciate you. You, you and your team and your department, you don't create the garbage, but it's your responsibility to pick it up. You know, we see every day people throwing bags out of their car and this and that, and it has, unfortunately, has nothing to do with you and your department particularly, but unfortunately, and somebody mentioned the mindset. We have to work on the mindset of our community to make sure, when you see whole, I mean, shopping bags of leftover chicken wings and all this other stuff, which I've seen, and my old neighbor, short little lady, used to go knock on their doors and throw it in their window. I was like, God, nobody ever hurt her. But I want to say, as my colleagues say, I appreciate what you and your team do. Because if it weren't for you and what you do, our city would be in such a bad shape. I do have a couple questions. Number one, you mentioned in your presentation, it was the difference between total households and DPW households was about 50,000, somewhere in that range. I
Yes,
don't,
yes.
so, and just for the public, and that the difference is because of why.
So some are private properties, right? Buildings that we don't pick up. That's the main difference, private properties.
Okay, and people should understand, residents, that there are businesses, buildings that are picked up for privately, right?
Yes.
Okay. Additionally, and I don't know if you said this, but are you, in terms of illegal dumping, are you working with the police department, public safety, and I think it's the Vice Squad
Yes.
regarding the hot spots?
Yes, we're in current conversation. First, we had to get the data to make sure to see how the data looked on our end. So we got MPD's hotspots from Director Miranda. We got Director Larios from Homeless Services. We got ours, and now we plan to, have a meeting in about a week or two to be able to discuss what that plan would look like together, and obviously creating the illegal dumping task force again.
Good. And a couple of personnel questions I had. One, you talked about you have some folks out on workers' comp. How many laborers or employees do you have out on workers' comp right now?
I didn't put the exact number in that report. I can give it to you immediately after this meeting. We have it. I just don't want to give you the wrong number.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. And then you mentioned how you're in the process of hiring employees to meet the numbers that you mentioned.
Yes.
And some are already in queue, waiting on certain. If there are any that are, anything that's open, and you have something out to hire new employees, I'd appreciate you send it to the council so we can share it with our different, our respective communities, our respective emails, threads and lists, so that we can help and assist with regards to helping you find employees. So I just wanted to mention that, and just to let you know that, and I think everybody might have set it up here. We're here to support you too, and support your department. So however we can be of assistance, we're here for that. I appreciate what you and your team do. You're also part of, you get thrown in there. I don't know if just me or other council members, text chains.
Group chats.
So, it's always interesting. Now, quite frankly, I can sit back and let them ask you the questions instead of me in some cases. And you're very responsive, and that's what I appreciate, you and your team. I think it's important that we acknowledge you and what you do, but it's also important that we acknowledge your team, because I do think they also provide a lot of support necessary. I've seen them, and like Councilman Quintana was saying, I've seen them with the pickup trucks, throwing things in the back of the pickup truck to carry on days that, an address may have been missed or something. And so I just wanted to say, I appreciate your support, appreciate what you're doing. And I believe, and I don't say I believe, I know you have all of our support up here. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'll work with the business administrator in getting all of the requested information to you as soon as possible.
Yeah. We know none of this can be done without him. We know that, right? No, thank you very much. With that being said, I think that's it. Appreciate it. Next one.
Next, addressing the ATVs, dirt bikes, and motor brigade enforcement. Members of the Department of Public Safety are here this morning. Director Emmanuel Miranda, Deputy Director Leonardo Cardillo, Police Chief Sharonda Morris.
Good morning,
Morning.
Police Chief Sharonda Morris. How are you guys doing this morning? I just want to share the apology from Public Safety Director. He's currently down at the Police Unity Tour for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. So he was unable to be here today. But we are here to give you our stats and information and answer any questions, of course. So to start off, I will go over a couple of the stats. So with the e-bikes and the scooters and four-wheelers, we have been actively out there enforcing. Year to date, we have summonses of 425, tows 36, 5 arrests, 93 stop reports, and 52 drag racing summonses. We have also incorporated quality of life units within the precincts, and they deal a lot with these incidents. We actually had an incident probably a few months ago. I know these guys just got an award where they were questioning a guy about his bike, of course, and what he hadn't done, and there was a shooting around the corner, and they were the first men on the scene for that shooting. They actually just got an award for that incident. So we are actually actively out there enforcing the laws with the scooters and the bikes and of that nature. We also had an incident back in November where it was publicized on the internet where they were doing the takeovers with the large meetups with the vehicles. We responded down to the scene, and like we usually do, and often we give summonses and we tow and we do what we can, you know, during that day, but we went a little further this time and they did some investigation. So our intel unit, through social media, surveillances, and other investigative methods, actually went after the guys that were not only at the event, but the person that put it on Instagram to get the people there was also charged in that incident. We also have some other events that occurred that night, and they were summoned and they were also arrested. Even this month, well, actually it's May now, in April, we had 2 additional arrests from that same incident. So they were still, like I said, continuing to investigate to make sure that we called them up on what they had done during that incident back in November. So this is something we continue to do. We also monitor social media to see if there's any events, and we kind of get ahead of it. A lot of times they go to cities next to us. They don't intend to come to Newark, and if we know that it's happening, we kind of block off so they're not able to come into the city like we're already where we know they usually go. I've actually personally myself have seen posts on social media where they're like, stay out of Newark, they on that, you know, so because they know when we know they're coming, we're out there. And we're trying to, you know, address the situation before it becomes too much. But sometimes they do kind of sneak in when it's not posted, but we still always have the manpower. And on the weekends, we still always run extra units for such things. So we are out there responding to them. And just looking at a kind of breakdown of the stats on what we've done so far with the e-bike, scooters, and the drag racing, I'm looking at in the different precinct how it kind of fluctuates, and that's based on the fact that they see more of it. They actually do. Where in the 3rd precinct, they have 242 summonses for e-bikes and scooters because we're in the downtown area where you see a lot of that going on. The 4th precinct as well shows a lot of that. Where in the 5th precinct, they have a lot of drag racing summonses. That's because that's the areas that they like to go when they come into town. So we've been addressing it where it's been happening, and we continue to do this daily. We are in the process of, as you're aware, bringing on more officers. And I have Director Carrillo here who could probably speak on that a little more on how we're kind of replenishing the force and how we're bringing more officers out and what we're allowed to bring, because we are still new with the academy. So I'll let him speak on that and then I'll come back again.
Good morning, Council President, council members. Leo Carrillo, Deputy Police Director, Newark PD. As the chief said, we're actively working to bring our academy back to full status. We're currently under probationary status. We were granted permission to have 2 academy classes of 50 persons, not all from Newark. It's an academy for the state of New Jersey, not just for Newark. So we have to, although we prioritize Newark personnel, we also have to have folks from outside. We are currently graduated our first. We're currently in our second. I'm also currently applying for a third during our probationary period. We anticipate we will have approval for that class. That class will start in September. In December will be the point at which we testify before the commission to apply for our full-time, full academy status, which would again allow us to receive more recruits. So again, we're actively working to keep up with attrition in the department and to have a way to hire personnel right here in Newark.
Mr. President.
Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, I have to leave, but I just want to express my appreciation to the police division around the issue. I know one of our colleagues wanted to have this on the agenda. I've personally worked on 2 pieces of legislation over the years. The first one, some years ago, dealt with giving the city the ability to confiscate and destroy, these vehicles that are illegally operating in our streets and in some cases kind of terrorizing residents. The second one was on the agenda at the last meeting, which really focuses more on these food delivery e-bikes. Director Carrillo was part of our committee along with Councilman Silva. And I personally understand the complexity around this. I talked to neighboring mayors around the county. One mayor communicated to me 2 weeks ago that they have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit stemming from their police division pursuing one of these dirt bikes or 4-wheelers, and the vehicle got into an accident. So, local departments are handcuffed in their ability to pursue. And I know Newark has been very creative in deploying the helicopter and other technology to try to figure out where these folks kind of congregate and strategically deploying resources to try to corral. I know in one instance a few years ago on Broadway and Montclair Avenue, the police division's actions in kind of corralling a group that was congregating around a food truck that was illegally operating there resulted in an arrest, a gun charge. So those are the positive examples of the efforts of the Newark Police Division around this, but it's something that's affecting every town in the state. It's not a Newark issue anymore. Belleville's impacted, Bloomfield, West Caldwell, and I really do understand the complexity around it. And if there's anything else we could do from a legislative standpoint to support your efforts around, getting a better handle on the ATVs, dirt bikes, and the motorbikes, please let us know.
Yeah, we have been confiscating what we can. The problem sometimes becomes with the drag racing. A lot of these cars are in someone else's name. So it's a little harder. So we're still actually looking into the law behind, the legality of whether we can confiscate and under what circumstances, but we are looking into that as well.
I would ask if you can, Mr. Chair and the clerk, to kind of recirculate the ordinance that we passed 2 years ago. We modeled it after what New York City did, because I think if you did a big public display where you have X number of these dirt bikes and 4-wheelers, and the city just went to a junkyard and destroyed, this property, and send a message out like, we're not going to return this back to you, especially if you're riding up and down sidewalks, if you're doing wheelies on the street, endangering the lives of pedestrians, of residents, police officers. It would go a long way to deter that kind of behavior. But that's not really on the police division. That's on us. We got to figure out what authority we need to incorporate in order to make that possible.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes,
Council,
I want to kind of mention, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Roundtree. I just didn't want it to get lost in the conversation that we are expanding our drone program. So that's something that Director Carrillo can speak to. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got some info on that.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Scott Roundtree.
Thank you. Oh, well, I was going to let, thank you, Council President. So much being said, I first want to thank the Department of Public Safety for your efforts in this situation with these cars and trucks, and they have so many different names, because when I'm riding down some streets and I see, they look like little mini tanks to me when they're up in the air with the big tires and the wheels, and things that they do endanger the lives, not just people walking down the street, but people that are actually driving. So everything that you're doing with ATVs and all of these things, I just want to thank you and commend you, and I really appreciate the update that you sent to all of us. I do have to leave, Council President, but I just wanted to say something to the Department of Public Safety, because you too have thankless jobs, such as the Department of Sanitation. A lot of times people don't understand what you have to go through with your name being on your uniform, but you don't know my name when you walk up to me. So those guys have really been blessed with some of the ways that you've encountered them, and things that you could have done that would have not been unethical, you did not do. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Gonzalez.
Yes, good morning, Director and Chief. It's a matter of, let's say, perception more than anything else. Let's say I go to a place on Broadway, and on Friday afternoon, 6 o'clock, 50 motorcycles go doing wheelies and terrorizing everybody on the street. The owners of the place that I am enjoying my cigar tell me, that's it. They say we pay taxes in the city of Newark, and this is what we get in the, let's say, in the city. So I don't know how to answer to them. They say we make all the efforts, but we cannot chase them. We have ordinances that prohibit selling gas to those individuals. We have an ordinance that if they are caught, the motorcycle, the four-wheeler can be destroyed. So the thing that they see, and they saw that I believe Sunday, the motorcycles are going and a police car is behind them and nothing is happening. So they see that the police car is immediately behind, let's say 25 motorcycles, and nothing is happening. So they say, why isn't the police doing something? And the perception is that we are not.
So sometimes in instances like that, we kind of monitor them and what they're doing, and we try to push them out. And like you mentioned, we can't pursue them. So when they see us coming force, then that kind of persuade them to go other places. So where they're seeing them not doing something, they actually are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Silva.
Good morning, Director in Chief. Director, first of all, I want to commend you on getting that academy up and going. I know how much work you put into it. At the end of the day, without boots on the ground, a lot of these requests and a lot of these issues cannot be solved and cannot be dealt with, because it takes resources, right? And when you said that the third class, the BA kind of fell out of his chair over there a little bit, but we'll make sure that we get that third class in there. But going back to what a couple of my council colleagues said, it's incumbent upon us to work with you guys to make sure, now that I'm sitting on this end, to make sure that we give you the tools that you need in your toolbox, right? Whether it's ordinances or other things. We sit here a lot of times and we wait for another municipality to do something, and then we take it from them, right? Councilman Ramos and I, we just worked on something with you because I ended up getting a copy from the Hoboken Police Department and the town and the city on ordinance regarding enforcement of the three-wheelers and the quads. The summer's coming now. We know what happens when the weather starts getting a little warmer. I don't have to tell you. But again, our hands are tied because of Attorney General guidelines and other things that don't allow us to pursue vehicles. Councilman Ramos just mentioned a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and we definitely don't want to get into that. So again, whatever you may need from the 8 people up here to make sure that you guys have what you need, please come to us and we'll be happy to pass an ordinance to make sure that you guys, again, have what you need to be able to pull them over, confiscate them, and making sure we take those people off the street.
Thank you. I want to thank you again for your presentation. The one thing I will ask, if you mentioned a number of summonses and can you provide that information to us in writing and email it so we know what's going on?
Yes, absolutely.
I try to recall everything and write it down, but it didn't work out. So I'd appreciate if you could forward that to all of the council members. Is there anything else? And thank you. I think that's it. Thank you. Anything from the council want to talk? Mention? Anything from the administration? No? Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to do something for us, but not for you. Chief and Director, please don't leave. I got a question.
Council President, council members, I'd like to read a letter into the record from Senator Ruiz on behalf of the legislators of the 29th Legislative District. Councilman Murphy and the Passaic Valley Sewage Commissioners, as elected representatives of New Jersey's 29th Legislative District, we write with an urgency and conviction to strongly urge you to vote no on the proposed gas-fueled power facility at 600 Wilson Avenue in Newark. The Ironbound neighborhood, already designated an overburdened community under New Jersey's environmental justice law, is saturated with polluting infrastructure. It currently houses 3 fossil fuel power plants, the state's largest garbage incinerator, and some of the worst air quality in the nation. 1 in 4 children in Newark suffers from asthma. Our residents live each day with the cumulative impacts of diesel exhaust, industrial waste, and toxic emissions. Now they're being asked to bear the burden of a 4th power plant, a proposal that would never be entertained elsewhere. This is textbook example of environmental racism, where communities of color are disproportionately forced to carry the weight of pollution and industrial development. This is not progress. This is a step backwards. The rationale behind the project to prevent sewage overflows during future storms is not lost on us, but viable, cleaner alternatives exist. Your role as commissioners is not only to review technical specifications, but to weigh lifelong consequences to human health, dignity, and equity. A full and transparent study of the alternatives must be conducted and shared with the public. Anything less would be a violation of the intent of New Jersey's environmental justice protections. You have heard, as we have, the overwhelming opposition from Newark residents, local officials, community leaders, and environmental advocates. The people of this city are united in one message: let Newark breathe. History is watching. We are asking you, the commissioners of the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission, to choose long-term health over short-term fixes and vision over repetition. Vote no on the proposed gas-fired power plant. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, Councilman.
Yeah, I had the clerk read that letter. Today, I also would like for a letter from the city as well, supporting our 29th Legislative District in support of Passaic Valley's in the East Ward. I've always sat up here for the last 30 months or whatever it's been, that they do nothing for the city of Newark. They're not good partners, and they want to bring a fossil fuel plant to a city and a ward that's already inundated with toxins and pollutions. And I think that we need to support our partners at the state level in saying no to this plan before the vote takes place on Thursday.
Thank you, Councilman. So noted. I guess that's it. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, or next week, right? Next week.